Hello once again, and welcome back to the Trains a New Era, the live stream route. This is part 10. For those of you keeping track at home, this is part number 10. In this part, it's going to be mostly voiceover because there were some audio issues with the live stream, but the live stream footage will still be there. Going to speed things up a little bit as we start things off on a farm just outside of River Bend. Hello. I had to get that in there. I know. But anyway, decided to work on this little farm out here. It was just some randomly placed buildings, and decided to go to work on it and put the house in its own location, and there it is. I think the house is comfortable right there on a little hill overlooking the railroad tracks, so that way they can look out their windows and see trains going by. So, having that done, I decided it was time to figure out where am I going to put the driveway to this place, and right there seemed like the logical place, so let's split the trees apart and get a little gravel road put in there for the driveway. It can be kind of a lengthy driveway, and in the future this will change, and you'll see what I mean in future episodes. Yeah, spoiler alert much? No, not really. But anyway, there we go. The road's in there, and trying to get it leveled up just right, and getting it over the tracks is kind of that's kind of a job in itself, and you have to play around with the vertices and the height issues, and you know, I can't tell you exactly how to do this. So just use your height adjustment tool and use the control key to move them up and down to get that height just right for the for going over the tracks, and that was definitely not the way to do it. So moving in, there we go. Finally got the road across the tracks. It stretched across. Had to put another vertex in on the other side of the railroad tracks there. And now we get to play around with the heights. And I think the result was pretty good. The rails just show up over the road, and there we go. Yeah, that looks good like that. I kind of like that idea. So let's get the rest of this driveway built. Whoops, there we go. I had to bring that one up just a little bit to kind of make it a little bit more even looking. Stretch it up towards the farm a little bit more, and boy, where was I going there? What a mess. Let's straighten this thing out a little bit. There we go. I kind of like a windy driveway, though, but this one turned out to be very straight, and just a turn at the end to get into the courtyard area. It's not really much of a courtyard. It's more of a brick courtyard. I'm not sure what kind of farm this modeled after, but I kind of like it. It's a very large house. And I don't like where those outbuildings are, the barn and stuff, so let's move that stuff. Let's put it right there. Looks really good for the barn. We've got one little shed. I would imagine it's a chicken coop or something like that. Although the chicken farm is actually across the highway from these guys. So, and strangely, while I was on the live stream, I was hearing the chicken farm the whole time. If you see my avatar down in the corner laughing, that is why. And now we're placing trees, getting the farm all looking more farmy. Farmy? Is that a word? I don't know. But it's looking pretty decent. We got the, we got the barn floating. I hate floaters. I hate them. I just, no rage. Just move the darn barn and put it where it's not floating. Yeah, that works. Trying to do a little more scenery work now, trying to put down some dirt and gravel looking areas, and possibly some muddy areas around the barn and stuff, and doing different layers. There's no one layer that you can do in this to make it look good, so you have to kind of layer them up, and it's a whoops, it's a work in progress. Basically, it's an art form, basically trying to get scenery that looks halfway decent, but I think that was accomplished there. So. There is the farm as we get a little bit further out view of it. And a couple more trees to plant down here and a couple more details. Yeah, I kind of like that view. It looks more like a farm than it did before, that's for sure. Trees just popping up all over the place. So at the end of the day, that was what we got. The farm looks more like a farm, and I like it. I like the way that turned out. And now that we're done on the farm, it's time to move on to another area of the layout. And in sticking with the more rural theme of this part, we decided to move out in the country out here towards the Wilton Grain Mill, which you guys haven't seen yet, but it's there, trust me. Decided to go work on this highway a little bit. I like the road running along the tracks, but I want to have some side roads kind of connecting that. But first I want to extend that road way down here. And there's the grain mill, and we actually haven't done anything with that other than plop it down there, so we'll get to that a little bit later on. Anyway, let's, I'm thinking maybe we'll connect this road here. Let's move this over here. There we go. Let's, that looks good. I'm going to make kind of a like a three-way Y kind of an intersection here. And, well, there we go. We got that one straightened out. I was kind of hanging off the layout over there. That's one of my notorious roads to nowhere anyway, so we're not going to worry too much about that. Yeah, there it is, the end of it. So let's get to work on this part here. This is where we're going to be trying to connectify these roads all together. That didn't work out so well. Might have to do a little shift clicking on this one. And there, maybe put another vertex in the middle of that one and kind of pull that one over in a little bit more of an arc. There we go. Straightening things out a little bit. Sometimes these roads can be a little bit tricky because they want to connect in strange directions and in directions that you necessarily don't want them to go. And that's a finished product. I kind of like that. It looks nice. So here we go, painting a little bit more scenery on here. I don't like these patterned scenery things, but I guess when you're down at track level, it really doesn't look that bad. And plus you can flip them around a little bit with your directional thing and change the size of them. That's kind of patchworking them together. Again, doing layering on the scenery painting stuff there. And I wasn't really completely happy with the flat ground around there, so I decided to do a little bit of terrain elevation, or I guess you kind of call it terraforming. I've called it terraforming in the past, and I guess it's not really necessarily terraforming, but it kind of is and it kind of isn't. But decided to build up hills. I wanted to hide this road to nowhere, and the best way to do that is with a scenic divider of some kind, and the best scenic divider you can put on any model railroad or in trains is a hill. And now down by this little Y down here, I thought it would really be kind of neat to put a little pond in between there. And whoops, that water level's a little high. There we go. And you get a little too close to the freeway, and it's not a freeway, it's a highway there. And there we go. Got to find an appropriate color to make the water look a little bit darker down towards the bottom there. Kind of almost a muddy looking appearance there. And the way trains paint scenery on is kind of convoluted, so you really have to kind of work with it a little bit. But, of course, you got to have a few trees around it, so let's dig out a few trees from there. And I think I want a birch tree or two in there, too. And there we go. Yeah, those look... and it's okay to put birch trees in the water. Birch trees sometimes do grow in shallow water, so I decided there was too many trees on there, so I thinned them out, and then what did I do? I planted a whole bunch of them in the water again. Indecision being my best decision here, and trying to figure out just what to do with the trees, how high I wanted them and stuff like that. But that kind of the way the pond worked out, I like the way that whole area worked out there. So grabbed a couple splines and stretched some trees along there. I just wanted to kind of make this look a little bit more finished, I guess is the word I'm looking for on this. And the best way to do that would be with a few trees around it. And I think that compared to what it looked like just a couple minutes ago, I think it looks pretty decent now. It kind of reminds me of some areas around where I live here, but it's kind of an embellishment on top of that too. And I don't know, I got kind of tired of looking at just the grid work here, so I just grabbed a broad brush and just started painting random scenery all over the place. I just grabbed one thing and opened the thing up and let it go. And I guess we can touch that up a little bit later on, but I really wanted to get rid of this grid work and make this look a little bit more finished around here. And mission accomplished, basically. And this little substation on just this side of the tracks from the grain mill over there is got a little treatment coming up for that in a little bit. But putting this grassy terrain down it really does make things look a little more finished. And putting down wanted some gravel for the substation there. Didn't really want to have grass growing in there. So, and again, trains, the way it lays down scenery is just strange. So trying to put down some gravelly looking stuff around the tracks, and got some plans for this feed mill here. This is Wilton's grain mill, or Wilton grain mill, I should say. And like I said, we'll get around to that a little bit later on and show you what goes on with it. In the meantime, we're going to take a run all the way back to Riverbend. Hello. Working on this little, kind of like a boulevard area between the more industrial area down below and the city proper up above. And decided I'm going to put a little foliage up in here, but I really wanted to work on this area over here. Kind of a little picnicky area, kind of a park-like area overlooking all the industrial stuff. And, of course, the junkyard. Of course, you have to have a junkyard. And putting trees on here, that birch tree may or may not look appropriate there, but, I put it there because I can. And that's that. It's just there. So, yeah, that tree's kind of buried in the ground. Let's pull it. That looks good. And we'll get another tree just like it and put over here. Let's put that. I don't like it buried like that. So there we go. We're going to put it up above like that and call it good. And finishing up there, let's move down to this empty lot down here. Kind of a vacant lot. Put a couple dead trees down in there, and that one just kind of planted itself right where it looks good. So it's just, yeah, it's like a nameless vacant lot, basically, next to the liquor store down there. And I found an asset that I thought looked really good right there. Sometimes it happens in trains. You just poking around and it's like, oh, I need to put that over there because it looks really good. And you do it before you lose it because otherwise you may never find it again. So back to the junkyard we go, and we're working on the scenery behind it, working on the foliage. I decided that we needed a little bit more layering going on back there. So another spline went in there with the vertices and all that kind of good stuff. And I think it turned out well. I like the effect of this. Lots of work left to do down here, and of course we're planting a few trucks. You know, when you find, like I said, when you find the assets, you got to plant them before you lose them. Otherwise, like I said, you may never find them again. That pickup truck, for some reason, planted itself in the ground. I'm not sure why that happened, but just get under the height adjustment tool and raise it back up to where it belongs and call it good. So that happened. And of course, with all things trains, you got to kind of look at it from different angles and stuff. And this looks pretty good. Now look at that truck. Does that truck say junkyard on it or what? Definitely a good candidate for being a junk truck. So there it is. And move it around, put a little angle. And out in the parking lot here, I decided I needed to manipulate things just a little bit. Move that orange truck a little bit closer to the fence. And that guy can park way back there and call it good. Now back to the liquor store, as I'm calling this. I guess we'd call it a liquor store, as we're trying to work on some ground textures, and Trains just doesn't want to cooperate. Sometimes our ground texture planting is a little bit to be desired, but this is actually working out very well in this parking lot here. I like the lighter and darker aspects of the texturing going on here. Gives it just a little bit extra dimension to what you're doing there. So yeah, I like that aspect of it, but still trying to figure out just exactly how in the world Trains plants scenery down the at least the textures anyway. So there. Yeah, that's looking very appropriate for a junkyard type scene. Back to the liquor store once again, and there's this little grassy area between the road and the store itself, kind of the parking lot kind of area. Trying to define it just a little bit more, and that area there is just begging for a tree. I think that you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a moment if I can get the cursor to come in there, and there we go. This is we need a tree in that area, but maybe not that tree. Let's try this one here. That's the one. That looks good, and now we didn't want that close to the store. But anyway, that worked out, and then we moved on and came over to this little grade crossing here. And it's just a road that's a service road, basically, back to the railroad headquarters and stuff like that. But I just didn't want the gravel in there, so I looked and tried to find it, and I found the perfect crossing material right there. The dark one, maybe not so much, but the light one, I remember wood crossings like that when I was a kid around town, and there's probably a few like that still around. So, yeah, that had to happen that way, and let's get that adjusted just right in there, and let's slide sideways just a little bit, trying to get it just to the right angle, and it's almost there, just I think a little bit more of a twist, just a tiny bit. There we go. That's the one. That looks very appropriate there. So, yeah, I like that. With that in place, let's back this up and take a look at basically the layout of what we did today in River Bend anyway, and kind of get a look at the whole city. Moving westwardly toward the west end of the city, a lot of development going on out this way, and strangely enough, or something like that. Strangely enough, we're ending this right where we started, basically. You can see a new subdevelopment going on out there. And this leads us right back to where we started this episode. Obviously, this was taken from a different day from when we started. But that farmer's driveway has become basically a back road leading to that subdivision over there. And I decided to give this grade crossing the same treatment that I gave the crossing back in town there. I figured wood crossing here would be appropriate. So now I decided to go with a little bit wider on these. One plank wasn't going to be wide enough, so I decided to go with two and kind of double them up on here. And kind of a tedious task getting them all lined up the way that they should be and getting them looking good. But it all worked out in the end. As you recognize the farm once again, like I said, this is basically where we started off, and we're going to be ending this basically in the same area. So kind of come full circle in a way. But anyway, as I said before, we are kind of reaching the end here. This has been at it for over 15 minutes and been voiceover through the whole thing. So anyway, it is time to shut it down for this one. Thanks once again for watching, everybody. Really do appreciate it. And we'll talk to you in the next one. In the meantime, as always, whatever it is in life you do, keep on doing what it is you do.